The Alpha King ordered Evelyne Ashor to serve the bride who had ruined her face. No one in the Moon Hall called it cruelty. They called it honor. That was how the court of Valoria dressed its knives. It wrapped them in silk, blessed them with moon water, and placed them in the hands of smiling nobles until the wound looked like ceremony. Evelyne stood at the edge of the wedding dais with a silver tray balanced between her scarred hands. Upon it rested the sacred moon cup, filled with pale wine that glowed faintly beneath the chandeliers. The cup had been carved from ancient lunar stone, a relic used only when an Alpha King took a Luna before the entire kingdom. One sip from the bride, one sip from the king, one shared breath beneath the moon banners. Then the court would kneel, the wolves would howl, and the bond would be sealed beyond challenge. At least, that was what the priest said. Evelyne knew better than to trust anything priests said when nobles were listening. The moon hall glittered like a tomb, pretending to be a palace. Black marble columns rose into a vaulted ceiling painted with silver wolves chasing a white moon. Thousands of candles burned in glass bowls shaped like open lilies. Royal banners hung from the rafters, dark blue and silver, each one bearing the crowned wolf of House Vael. And beneath all that beauty, the court smelled of fur, perfume, hot wax, winter roses, and hidden hunger. Evelyne kept her head lowered, not because she was humble, because people stared less when she did. The scar began near her left temple, cut through the edge of her cheek, and vanished beneath the high collar of her servant's gown. Another burn curved over her shoulder like a pale claw. The healers had saved her life after the fire, but they had not saved the face she once owned. In Valoria, beauty was not vanity. For women, it was proof of favor. A clean face meant the moon had not turned away. A scarred one meant the gods had touched you with warning. So the court had found a use for Evelyne that required silence, lowered eyes, and doors she entered only after nobility had finished looking beautiful inside them. Maid, Ashgirl, burned thing. The last name was Lady Seraphira Morn's favorite. Tonight, Seraphira stood at the center of the dais in a gown of white wolf silk that caught the candlelight like fresh snow. Her pale gold hair fell in perfect waves beneath a crown of moon pearls. Her throat glittered with diamonds. Her wrists were delicate. Her smile was merciful enough to humiliate. She looked like a woman born to be worshipped. She had looked the same 6 years ago, standing outside the burning West Tower while Evelyne screamed behind a locked door. No one had believed Evelyne when she woke and tried to speak. A servant girl accusing a noble daughter was not testimony. It was ambition, so Evelyne had learned to survive with the truth sealed behind her teeth. Tonight, Seraphira's blue eyes found her across the silver tray. For a moment, the perfect bride smiled. Not for the court. For Evelyne. Small. Private. Cruel. The message was clear. You lived long enough to watch me win. A priest's voice rose through the hall. Bring forth the moon cup. Evelyne's fingers tightened around the tray. The scar across her shoulder pulsed beneath her gown, a cold ache that always came near old magic. She had felt it all morning while polishing the cup. She had felt it when the servants dressed her in a plain gray uniform and ordered her not to limp, not to tremble, not to disgrace the royal household. Now, as she stepped toward the dais, the ache sharpened into heat. She ignored it. Pain was safer when ignored. The court parted before her, not respectfully, carefully, as if scars might be contagious, as if ruin might leap from her skin to their polished faces if they stood too close. At the top of the dais stood Alpha King Lucien Vael. He wore black ceremonial armor under a silver wolf fur mantle. His crown was thin and dark, shaped like a crescent caught between wolf teeth. He was tall, broad-shouldered, severe, beautiful in the way winter cliffs were beautiful before they killed a careless traveler. His hair was black, his eyes a cold storm gray, and his face held the kind of control that made lesser men mistake him for calm. But Evelyne had served the palace long enough to see what courtiers missed. The king was not calm. He was enduring. Beneath the moon vows, beneath the wolf crown, beneath the rigid line of his jaw, something in him was suffering. His wolf had not howled once since the wedding began. That was the first wrong thing. The second was the bride's mark. A Luna chosen by the moon was meant to bear the moon crown mark before the vow. A pale silver crescent above the heart, visible only under sacred flame. Seraphira's mark glowed now through the sheer panel at her chest. Beautiful. Perfect. Too perfect. Like paint pretending to be blood. Evelyne reached the dais and knelt, lifting the tray. The movement pulled at the old burn on her shoulder. Heat spread under her skin. The moon cup began to tremble. Only slightly. Enough that the wine inside rippled. Evelyne is still. Seraphira's gaze sharpened. Alpha King Lucien noticed. His eyes dropped from the bride to the cup, then to Evelyne's hands. For one breath, his attention rested fully on her, not on her scar. On hair. The force of it nearly made her look away. Your hands shake, Seraphira said softly. The court heard her. Of course they did. Evelyne kept her voice low. The cup is cold, my lady. How unfortunate. Seraphira tilted her head. I had forgotten how sensitive burned skin can be. A few nobles smiled behind their jeweled fingers. Evelyne felt the old fire flash through memory. Smoke. Locked wood. Her own fists bleeding against the door. Seraphira's voice outside. Calm and sweet. Telling the guards the west tower was empty. The tray tilted. The moon cup rang against silver. Lucien's gaze sharpened. Seraphira extended one pale hand. The cup. Evelyne lifted it. For a moment, bride and maid touched the same relic. Seraphira's fingers closed over the stem. The Luna mark above her heart flared, then cracked. A sound split the hall. Not loud, not human. A thin, breaking sound, like ice opening beneath a body too far from shore. The sacred wine turned black. Every candle in the moon hall bent toward Evelyne. Seraphira snatched her hand back. The cup remained in Evelyne's grasp, and the scar over Evelyne's shoulder ignited. She gasped. Silver fire tore across her skin, burning beneath the collar of her servant's gown. Down her chest, over the old scar tissue Seraphira had left behind. The pain was blinding, but it did not feel like injury. It felt like something waking. The moon cup slipped from Evelyne's fingers. It struck the marble. Pale wine spilled across the floor in a perfect crescent. The entire court rose as one. Evelyne staggered, clutching her shoulder as the servant fabric burned away in threads of light. Beneath it, across scarred skin the court had called ruined, a mark appeared. A crown made of silver moonfire, not painted, not borrowed, living, the true Luna mark. The moon hall went silent. Then every wolf in the chamber lowered its head. Not to Seraphira, to Evelyne. Alpha King Lucien turned slowly from the bride on the dais to the scarred maid kneeling below him. For the first time that night, his dying wolf answered. A low growl rolled through the hall from somewhere beneath his skin. Recognition. Horror. Need. Seraphira's perfect face drained of color. No, she whispered. Evelyne looked down at the silver crown burning across her scar. The scar she had been taught to hide. The scar that had survived fire, shame, and 6 years of silence. Now it shone brighter than the bride's stolen mark ever had. The priest dropped his ritual book, and Alpha King Lucien Vael spoke in a voice that made the chandeliers tremble. Who marked the maid? No one answered the Alpha King. The question hung above the moon hall like a blade suspended by a single thread. Who marked the maid? Evelyne Ashor remained on her knees beside the fallen moon cup. One hand clutched over the torn collar of her servant gown, while silver fire burned beneath her fingers. The mark had not faded. It had spread wider, shaping itself over the old scars on her shoulder and chest. A crown of moonlight so bright the marble around her reflected it. Every wolf in the chamber kept its head lowered. Not willingly. That made the silence worse. Nobles strained against the instinct, jaws clenched, eyes wide with humiliation. Proud alphas who had refused to look at Evelyne for years now bent before her because their wolves had recognized something their human pride could not deny. Lady Seraphira Morn stood frozen on the dais. The false Luna mark above her heart had cracked into thin black lines. Beneath the sheer wedding silk, the painted silver crescent trembled like glass about to break. Her perfect face had gone pale, but only for a moment. Then she gathered herself. She always did. My king, Seraphira said softly. The maid has contaminated the ritual. Her voice was calm enough to sound reasonable. Evelyne almost laughed. Even now, even with the moon crown burning through scarred skin, even with every wolf kneeling, Seraphira was turning the miracle into a crime. The old priest stumbled forward, clutching his fallen ritual book. "This is impossible," he whispered. "The sacred cup cannot answer servant blood." Alpha King Lucien did not look at him. His eyes stayed on Evelyne. Then perhaps she was never only a servant. The words struck the hall. Evelyne looked up. For 6 years, men had looked at her scar before they looked at her eyes. Women had moved their children away from her in corridors. Servants had learned to pity her quietly, and nobles had learned to insult her gently. But Lucien Vael looked at her as if the world had shifted around her, and he intended to understand why before anyone else touched the truth. That should have comforted her. It terrified her. Seraphira stepped down from the dais, white gown whispering across the marble. "My king, look at her." She served the cup. She held the relic. If a mark appeared, it appeared through contact, through theft, through some scar-born curse we never properly examined. Evelyne's breath tightened. Scar-born curse. The court liked that. She could feel the words moving from face to face, giving them a safer explanation than the one burning on her skin. The scarred maid had stolen the mark. The burned girl was cursed. The servant wanted the throne. Lucien's hand closed around the hilt of his ceremonial sword. "Careful, Lady Morn." Seraphira lowered her eyes, but Evelyne saw the anger beneath her lashes. "I speak only to protect the crown. You were moments from becoming the crown, and perhaps that is why she struck now." The accusation landed cleanly. Several nobles lifted their heads. Evelyne forced herself to stand. Pain flashed through her shoulder, but she rose anyway. The silver moon crown mark brightened as if it approved of the effort. "I struck no one." Her voice sounded rougher than she expected. Unused. Servants survived longer when they spoke less. Seraphira turned to her. Sorrow painted perfectly across her face. "Evelyne, no one wants to hurt you." The lie was so beautiful it almost deserved applause. "You locked the West Tower door," Evelyne said. The entire hall went still. Seraphira's expression did not change, but her fingers twitched once against her wedding gown. Lucien noticed. Evelyne saw him notice. 6 years of silence pressed against her throat. Smoke. Fire. Splintered wood. Her own screams. Seraphira standing outside the door while the flames took half her face and shoulder. The truth had lived inside Evelyne so long it had begun to feel like another scar. Tonight, it bled. She locked the door, Evelyne said again, louder. "The night the West Tower burned." Seraphira's eyes hardened. "How tragic." "Pain has damaged your memory." "No," Evelyne said. "It preserved it." A murmur swept the court. Lucien stepped down from the dais. The wolves lowered their heads further as he passed. But his gaze did not leave Evelyne. With every step, the air changed. Not pressure, not threat. Something wounded and ancient was waking beneath his control. His wolf, the one that had not howled since the wedding began. Now it was restless. Evelyne felt it in her bones. Lucien stopped before her, close enough that she could see the faint shadows beneath his eyes, the strain hidden under royal stillness, the exhaustion of a man whose soul had been dragged toward the wrong bond. "Did she do this to you?" he asked. Evelyne looked past him to Seraphira. The noblewoman's face remained soft. Merciful. Deadly. Yes. The word was small, but it crossed the hall like thunder. Seraphira smiled sadly. She was a kitchen maid with a crush on a prince. When the fire happened, she needed someone to blame. Lucien's expression turned colder. "You knew her then?" Seraphira paused. Only half a breath. Too long. "We all knew the servants who worked in the royal wing." "No," Lucien said. "You knew her." For the first time, Seraphira's calm thinned. The old priest rushed between them, voice shaking. "My king, the wedding rite must be suspended. The moon crown mark requires verification. Until then, the maid must be contained." Contained. Evelyne had heard that word before. After the fire, when she woke screaming in the healing ward. Contain her grief. Contain her accusation. Contain the scarred girl before noble daughters felt unsafe. Lucien's jaw tightened. "No one touch her." The priest recoiled. Seraphira's gaze sharpened. The court heard the danger before Evelyne did. A king protecting a maid before his bride. A true Luna mark burning on scarred skin. A false mark cracking before witnesses. This was no longer a wedding. It was a threat to every family that had invested in Seraphira Morn. From the council benches, Lord Maverin Morn rose. Seraphira's father was a broad man with a silver beard, dark wolf fur robes, and the patient cruelty of someone used to having laws move around him. "My king," he said, "your grief over the broken bond is known to us all. Your wolf has been unstable since the first Luna trials failed. But this confusion must not become policy." Lucien turned slowly. The hall chilled. "What did you say?" Lord Maverin bowed his head just enough to avoid open insult. "The court remembers the old prophecy. A dying wolf will reach for false moonfire before the end. We must be certain your wolf is not mistaking pain for recognition." Evelyne looked at Lucien. Dying wolf. So that was the secret beneath the king's silence. Not coldness. Not indifference. Fine. His wolf was dying because the court had forced him toward a false Luna bond. Lucien's face revealed nothing, but the moon crown mark on Evelyne's skin burned hotter, as if it heard the wound in him, as if it answered. A growl moved through the hall. Low. Broken. Not from any visible wolf. From Lucien. Every candle bent toward Evelyne again. The old priest went pale. Seraphira took one step back. Evelyne's scar flared with silver fire. Lucien looked at her as if she had become both danger and breath. Then the sacred moon cup rolled across the marble by itself. No one touched it. It stopped between Evelyne and Seraphira. The black wine inside the broken cup began to rise. Drop by drop, the liquid formed a thin silver mirror in the air. Inside it, an image appeared. A burning tower. A young Evelyne trapped behind a locked door. And Lady Seraphira Morn standing outside with a silver key in her hand. The court saw. Evelyne stopped breathing. Seraphira screamed. "No!" The mirror shattered. The moon cup split in two. And beneath Seraphira's cracked false mark, something black began to crawl. The moon hall saw the truth. For one impossible breath, no one moved. The shattered moon cup lay in two silver pieces between Evelyne Ashor and Lady Seraphira Morn. Its sacred wine spilled across the black marble like liquid moonlight turned rotten. The image it had shown still hung in every mind. The west tower burning. Young Evelyne trapped behind a locked door. Seraphira standing outside with a silver key in her hand. The court had not heard Evelyne's memory. It had witnessed it. That was harder to dismiss. Seraphira's scream broke the silence. No, that was witchcraft. Her false Luna mark cracked wider beneath the white silk of her wedding gown. Black lines crawled from the broken crescent like rot spreading under porcelain. She clutched at her chest, but the darkness moved between her fingers. Evelyne stepped back, one hand over the true moon crown mark burning across her scarred skin. The silver fire did not hurt now. It pulsed, slow and steady, like a heart that had been waiting 6 years to beat. Alpha King Lucien Vael stood between the maid and the bride, his face carved in terrible stillness. But Evelyne could feel his wolf stirring in the chamber, a dying creature lifting its head from years of forced sleep. Lord Maverin Morn rose from the council bench. "My king," he said, voice hard now. "The relic has been corrupted. The wedding must be sealed before this madness spreads." Lucien did not look at him. "The cup showed your daughter holding the key. A false vision. The sacred cup does not lie. The sacred cup was handled by a scarred servant whose mark appeared at the exact moment my daughter was meant to be crowned." The words found the court's ear quickly. A few nobles lifted their heads. Evelyne felt it happen. Truth had entered the room, but power was already trying to bury it. Seraphira's breathing turned sharp. Tears filled her eyes, beautiful and immediate. "My king," she whispered. "I loved you enough to carry the mark they gave me. I did everything the council asked. I endured the rituals, the blood fasts, the moon burns. I never complained." Lucien's jaw tightened. Evelyne looked at him. "The mark they gave me." Seraphira had said it too quickly. Lucien heard it too. His eyes sharpened. "They gave you the mark?" Seraphira froze. Lord Maverin stepped forward. "All Luna candidates undergo sacred preparation." Lucien finally turned to him. "What preparation?" The old priest trembled beside the broken cup. "No right beyond temple law, my king." Lucien's voice dropped. "Do not lie to me in my own hall." The priest swallowed. The black lines across Seraphira's chest crawled higher, reaching her throat like ink beneath snow. Then the moon crown mark on Evelyne's skin flared. A silver thread shot from her chest to the shattered cup. The two broken halves lifted from the floor. The court gasped. Evelyne did not command it. She did not understand it. But the relic answered her anyway. The cup reformed in the air, cracked but whole, and poured its remaining silver wine onto the marble between the two women. The wine did not spread randomly. It formed a circle, then a symbol. A crowned wolf with its throat bound by a black chain. Lucien staggered one step. Not from weakness. Recognition. Evelyne saw the pain flash through him before he buried it. "What is that?" she asked. No one answered. So she looked at the priest. "What is it?" The old man's face had gone gray. "The broken bond seal." Lord Mavrin struck him across the mouth. The sound cracked through the hall. Silence. Lucien moved. He was across the space before the priest's blood touched the floor. His hand closed around Lord Mavrin's wrist with enough force to make bone creak. "You do not command silence here." Mavrin's face hardened through pain. "No, my king. Your wolf does." The words landed like poison. Lucien released him. Too slowly. Evelyne saw the king's control fray. His wolf growled again, deeper this time, but the sound broke halfway through, turning into something almost like a wounded breath. Seraphira looked at Evelyne then. Not with the bride's polished cruelty. With hatred. "You should have died in that tower." The hall heard. Every mask fell. Evelyne's body went cold. 6 years of nightmares. 6 years of being told pain had confused her. That smoke had made her invent enemies. That a noble girl would never lock a servant in a burning room. Now Seraphira had spoken the truth herself. Lucien turned toward his bride. The temperature in the hall seemed to drop. Seraphira realized what she had done. Her mouth parted. "My king, No," Evelyne said. The word surprised even her. Lucien looked at her. She shook her head, silver fire casting light across the scar Seraphira had given her. "Do not kill her." Seraphira stared. So did the court. Evelyne's voice trembled, but she held it. "If you strike her now, her family will call me a curse and you a king bewitched by a servant. They will turn truth into scandal and scandal into war." Lucien's eyes stayed on her. "And what would you have me do?" The question was quiet, but it changed the room. The Alpha King had asked the scarred maid what justice should look like. Evelyne looked at Seraphira. For years she had imagined this moment. She had imagined Seraphira afraid, exposed, kneeling, begging. She had thought revenge would taste like fire finally leaving her throat. Instead, it tasted like ash. "The cup showed one memory," Evelyne said. "Let it show the rest." The priest looked horrified. "No. The full moon witness has not been invoked in generations." "Invoke it," Lucien said. "My king." "It requires blood from both claimants." Seraphira stepped back. "No." The court saw her fear. Evelyne did too. Lucien looked from Seraphira to Evelyne. "Both claimants?" The priest's voice shook. "If the true Luna mark has awakened on another, then the sacred rite recognizes two women. The one presented to the court, and the one chosen by the moon. Their blood must enter the cup. The relic will show which mark is living and which is stolen." The hall erupted. "Stolen mark. False Luna. True crown." Seraphira turned toward her father. Lord Mavrin's face was no longer calm. It was calculating. "No daughter of House Morn will submit to servant blood judgment." Lucien's voice cut through the noise. "Then House Morn admits fear." Mavrin's eyes flashed. "We admit insult. You sold me a bride with a broken seal over her heart. We saved your wolf." Lucien went still. There it was. The heart of the secret. Evelyne felt the moon crown mark burn hotter. Lucien stepped toward Mavrin. "How?" Mavrin's mouth tightened. "How did you save my wolf?" Seraphira whispered, "Father, don't." But it was too late. The sacred cup rose between them again. Its silver surface reflected not faces, but shadows. A chamber beneath the palace. Lucien unconscious on a stone altar. His chest marked with black chains of moon magic. Seraphira standing beside him in a white ritual robe. Lord Mavrin holding a blade. And Evelyne, younger, unscarred, unconscious on the floor nearby. Her chest glowing with the true moon crown mark. The vision flickered, then vanished. Evelyne could not breathe. Lucien turned slowly toward her. His face had lost all color. "You were there." She shook her head. I do not remember, but her scar remembered. It burned like the tower fire had come back for the rest of her. The old priest dropped to his knees. My king, he whispered. Your wolf was bound to the wrong mark. Lucien stared at the broken cup, then at Seraphira's blackening chest, then at Evelyne. The dying growl inside him became a howl. Not full, not healed, but alive enough to shake every candle in the hall. Seraphira screamed as her false mark split open. Black moonfire burst from her chest and struck the floor. The marble cracked in a line straight toward Evelyne. Lucien moved before anyone else. He stepped into the path of the fire. It struck his armor and drove him to one knee. Evelyne shouted his name before she could stop herself. The court heard. Lucien looked up at her through the black flame, eyes burning silver now, his wolf fighting its way back through years of stolen magic. Run, he said. Evelyne did not. For 6 years, she had survived by stepping away from power. Tonight, power had crawled out of her scar and named her. She walked toward him instead. The moon crown mark blazed across her skin. And somewhere beneath the palace, the true Luna bell began to ring. The true Luna bell had not rung in 80 years. It was not a wedding bell. It was not a celebration bell. It was a warning. The sound rolled up from beneath the palace in a deep silver note, shaking dust from the painted wolves on the ceiling and turning every candle flame blue. Across the moon hall, nobles clutched their throats. Priests fell to their knees. Wolves whimpered beneath human skin as the bell rang again. Once, twice, a third time, Evelyne walked through black moonfire toward Alpha King Lucien Vael. Every instinct she had learned in 6 years of servitude screamed at her to stop. Servants did not approach kings unless summoned. Scarred maids did not walk into sacred fire. Ruined girls did not reach for men whose names could end their lives. But Lucien was on one knee between her and the black flame tearing from Seraphira's false mark. His armor smoked. His jaw was clenched. Silver light burned through his storm-gray eyes, but black chains of old moon magic crawled over his chest like living thorns. The stolen bond was fighting him. No, not fighting, punishing. Each step Evelyne took made her moon crown mark burn brighter. Each pulse of silver fire across her scarred skin made the black chains around Lucien tighten. Seraphira saw it. Even through her own pain, she smiled. There, she gasped. Look at him. She is killing him. The court stirred. Fear reached for the easiest lie. Evelyne stopped a few feet from Lucien. He lifted his head. Run, he said again. His voice was rougher now. Not command. Plea. Evelyne looked at the black fire eating across his armor, then at Seraphira standing behind him with her cracked mark spilling corruption onto the floor. No. Lucien's mouth tightened. This bond was built to hurt you if you come near me. Then it was built by cowards. A flicker passed through his eyes. Fine. Surprise. Something dangerously close to admiration. Lord House Morn stepped forward, trying to recover authority from the ruins of his daughter's wedding. My king, listen to reason. The maid's mark is awakening the broken seal. If she touches you, your wolf may rupture completely. Evelyne turned her head. And if I do not? Mavrin's gaze cut to her. Then perhaps His Majesty survives the night. The lie was too smooth. Evelyne had spent 6 years polishing silver cups in council chambers. She knew the sound of men choosing words that left blood off their own hands. The sacred moon cup trembled on the marble between them. Broken, reformed, cracked again. Its silver surface filled with light. Not a full vision this time. Fragments. A younger Lucien chained to a stone altar beneath the palace. A young Evelyne lying beside him, unconscious. The true moon crown mark glowing on her unscarred skin. Seraphira standing over them crying. Not from guilt. From envy. Mavrin's hand guiding the ritual blade. The priest whispering, the real mark cannot be moved unless the vessel is burned. Evelyne's breath stopped. Burned. The West Tower. The locked door. The fire had not been punishment after the theft. It had been part of the theft. Her scar was not proof that she had lost the moon crown. It was the wound where they failed to erase it. The cup shattered again. Evelyne looked at Seraphira. You did not scar me because I accused you. Seraphira's face twisted. Evelyne's voice shook, but she did not lower it. You scarred me because the mark would not leave my skin. The court went silent. The old priest began to sob softly. Mavrin's expression hardened into something colder than denial. The kingdom needed a Luna of noble blood. Lucien's head turned slowly. Every wolf in the hall went still. Mavrin lifted his chin. Your wolf was dying after the border curse. The sacred bloodlines had failed. House Morn had the rank, the army, the alliances. A maid could not sit beside you. The court would have fractured. So you burned her, Lucien said. His voice was almost calm. That made it terrifying. Mavrin did not look away. We saved your throne. Lucien rose. The black chains tightened around his chest, cutting through armor into skin. Blood darkened the silver beneath his collar. Still, he stood. You saved your daughter's ambition. Seraphira staggered forward. I loved you. Lucien looked at her then. For the first time, truly looked. No, he said. You loved being chosen. The false Luna mark on her chest split wider. Black moonfire lashed out. This time it struck Evelyne. The force drove her backward. She hit the marble hard, silver light bursting from her scar. The court cried out. Lucien moved toward her, but the broken bond seized him. He dropped to one knee again, one hand pressed to his chest, teeth bared against the pain. Seraphira laughed through tears. If she touches him, he dies. If she stays away, the mark consumes her. That is what your precious moon chose. Evelyne pushed herself up on trembling arms. The true Luna bell rang again beneath the palace. This time, something answered above. The moon banners tore loose from the rafters and floated in the air, their silver wolves facing Evelyne. The sacred cup pieces rose from the floor and spun around her in a circle of broken moonlight. The old priest whispered, Moon witness. Mavrin took a step back. Evelyne felt the mark across her scar open like an eye. Not power, memory, not of the tower. Alder, a woman in a silver crown standing before a wounded alpha, cutting her own palm and pressing it to his chest. A wolf made of moonlight stepping out of a king's shadow. A vow spoken before there were priests to sell it. The Luna does not complete the king. She calls his wolf home. Evelyne looked at Lucien. His wolf was not dying because he lacked a noble bride. It was dying because it had been chained away from its true call. She rose slowly. Seraphira's eyes widened. No. Evelyne walked toward Lucien. The broken cup shards circled faster. Mavrin shouted, Stop her! Guards moved. Every wolf in the hall snarled at once. Not for Lucien. For Evelyne. The guards froze. Evelyne reached the Alpha King. Black moonfire crawled between them, snapping like living wire. Lucien's face was pale with restraint. Do not touch me, he said. Evelyne almost smiled. Not happily. Sadly. You kings keep saying that after you already let the world touch us with knives. The words broke something in his expression. I failed you. Yes. I did not know. No, Evelyne said. You did not look. He flinched. Good. Truth should leave a mark. Evelyne lifted her hand. The scarred one. The one the court had taught her to hide. She placed her palm over the black chains burning across Lucien's chest. Pain exploded through her. The moon hall vanished. For one breath, she was back inside the West Tower. Smoke filling her lungs. Fire climbing her skin. Seraphira's shadow beyond the locked door. Then Lucien's pain joined hers. Years of a wolf clawing at chains. Forced toward a false bond. Punished each time it tried to howl for the woman it knew but could not reach. Evelyne did not pull away. The moon crown mark blazed. Come home, she whispered. Lucien's wolf answered. A massive silver-black wolf shadow erupted behind the king, bound in chains of black moonfire. It threw back its head and howled. A sound so wounded the chandeliers cracked. Evelyne pressed harder. The first chain snapped. Lucien gasped. The second chain broke. Seraphira screamed. The third chain shattered. And the false mark on Seraphira's chest burst into black ash. Lucien's wolf stepped forward. Not fully free. Not yet. But alive. It lowered its enormous head beside Evelyne. The court saw the Alpha King's wolf bow to the scarred maid. Lord Mavrin went white. Evelyne swayed. Lucien caught her before she fell. His hands closed around her carefully, as if he had finally understood that protection without choice was only another cage. For one heartbeat, the hall was silent. Then Seraphira pulled a silver dagger from beneath her bridal sleeve. "If I cannot be Luna," she whispered, "then no servant will be." She drove the dagger into her own false mark. Black moonfire exploded outward. The moon hall floor split open beneath Evelyne and Lucien, and from the darkness below, the stolen Luna altar began to rise. The stolen Luna altar rose from beneath the moon hall like a buried crime. Black marble split in a perfect circle. Silver dust poured upward. From the darkness below, an altar of white stone and wolfbone climbed into the light, wrapped in chains of black moonfire. Evelyne knew it before anyone spoke. Her scar knew. Her body remembered what her mind had hidden. The altar stopped between her and Seraphira. Its surface was stained with old silver burns. At its center was a hollow shaped like the sacred moon cup. Around it were 3 carved symbols: a crowned wolf, a bleeding moon, and a woman with her hands bound over her heart. The old priest fell to his knees. Lord House Morn went pale. Alpha King Lucien stood beside Evelyne, his silver-black wolf shadow half-formed behind him, broken chains hanging from its neck. Seraphira stood across the altar, with the dagger still buried in her false mark, black fire leaking from her chest. She smiled through tears. "There it is," she whispered. "The place where she became nothing." Evelyne stopped breathing. Lucien's voice was low. "What altar is this?" No one answered. So the altar answered. Moonlight filled the hollow in the stone and rose into a mirror above it. Inside the mirror appeared a chamber beneath the palace 6 years earlier. Evelyne saw herself, younger, unscarred, unconscious on the altar. The true moon crown mark burned across her chest and shoulder, bright as living silver. Lucien lay beside her, chained, his wolf shadow thrashing while priests pinned it down with black moonfire. Seraphira stood nearby in a white ritual robe, eyes fixed on Evelyne's mark with hunger. Lord Mavrin held a ritual blade. The old priest's younger voice trembled in the vision. "The mark cannot be moved. It is alive." Mavrin's face hardened. "Then make it look dead." The vision shifted. Seraphira pressed her hand to Evelyne's mark. Black moonfire struck. Evelyne's sleeping body arched, but the mark did not leave her. It burned deeper. Seraphira screamed in fury. Mavrin turned toward the west tower windows. Fire purifies stubborn magic. The vision changed again. Smoke, locked wood, flames climbing the curtains. Young Evelyne pounding on the tower door while Seraphira stood outside with a silver key. Then the mirror went dark. The moon hall fell silent. Everyone had seen it. The scarred maid had not invented her pain. She had survived a ritual. Lucien stepped toward Mavrin. "You did this in my palace." Mavrin lifted his chin. "We preserved the throne. You burned a girl. We saved a king." "No," Evelyne said. Her voice was quiet, but the altar brightened. Everyone turned to her. She stepped away from Lucien. Her knees shook, but she remained standing. The moon crown mark blazed across her scarred skin, no longer hiding beneath the wound. "You did not save him," she said. "You chained him to a lie and called it healing." Mavrin's eyes narrowed. "A maid does not understand crown law. A maid understands locked doors." The words landed hard. Several servants at the walls lowered their heads, crying silently. Seraphira pulled the dagger from her false mark. Black fire followed the blade. "You think this makes you Luna?" she hissed. "A scar does not become a crown because an old cup pities you." Evelyne looked at her. For 6 years, she had imagined this moment. She had imagined screaming, accusing, demanding why, but cruelty rarely had an answer worthy of the wound. "You were beautiful," Evelyne said softly. "Powerful, noble, already seen, and still you needed to steal from a servant." Seraphira's face twisted. "I needed to survive. So did I." The altar flared. The black moonfire around Seraphira recoiled. Mavrin stepped forward quickly. "My king, if the maid completes the witness, the broken bond may destroy your wolf. The true mark was damaged by fire. She is unstable." There it was again. The oldest trick. Make the wounded woman look dangerous. Lucien turned toward Evelyne. For one breath she saw fear in him. Not fear of her. Fear for her. Fear of what the ritual might demand if the stolen bond snapped completely. Mavrin saw it too. "If you care for her, step away," he said. "Let the council contain the altar. Let us protect the kingdom from what remains inside that scar." Evelyne waited. Some broken part of her still expected the king to choose the crown over the maid. Lucien looked from Mavrin to the altar, then back to Evelyne. "What do you choose?" he asked. The hall went still. No one had asked her that 6 years ago. No one had asked whether she wanted the altar, the fire, the silence, the scars, or the life that followed. Lucien did not reach for her. He waited. The true Luna bell rang once beneath the palace. Evelyne turned toward the altar. "I choose to finish what they failed to erase." Mavrin shouted, "No!" Evelyne placed her scarred palm on the white stone. The altar opened. Silver fire rushed through her scar, down her chest, into the moon crown mark. The pain was immense, but clean. Not like burning. Like air entering a room that had been locked for years. The mirror rose again. This time, it showed the truth beneath the ritual. A silver thread stretched from Evelyne's mark to Lucien's wolf. It had always been there, buried beneath black chains. Seraphira's false mark was not a bond. It was a parasite. It had fed on Lucien's wolf for 6 years, draining him each time the court pushed the wedding closer. The court saw. Lucien saw. His wolf saw too. The silver-black shadow lifted its head and howled. The sound shattered the remaining chains around its throat. Seraphira screamed as her false mark split open. Black moonfire poured out of her and into the altar, twisting into the shape of a stolen crown. Mavrin ran toward it. Lucien caught him by the throat before he reached the stone. For a moment, the Alpha King looked ready to kill him. Evelyne spoke. "Do not." Lucien froze. She looked at Mavrin. "Let the altar judge what he protected." The stolen crown of black fire rose above the altar. Then it broke. Inside it were names. Servants, maids, low-born girls, women whose marks had appeared and vanished across generations. Evelyne understood. She had not been the first. House Morn had stolen Luna signs for decades, burning inconvenient women and dressing noble daughters in stolen moonlight. The moon hall erupted. Mavrin struggled in Lucien's grip. Seraphira collapsed to her knees, clutching her ruined chest. Evelyne stood before the altar, trembling but upright. The silver moon crown no longer hid beneath her scar. It crowned it. The old priest bowed to the floor. "My Luna," he whispered. One by one, the servants knelt. Then the guards. Then the wolves. The nobles resisted longest. But their wolves did not. At last, the moon hall bowed to the scarred maid. Lucien released Mavrin and turned toward Evelyne. He did not kneel yet. His wolf moved first. The silver-black beast lowered its head to her scarred hand. Evelyne touched its muzzle. For the first time in 6 years, Alpha King Lucien Vael's wolf breathed without pain. Then Seraphira laughed. Small, broken. Everyone turned. She lifted her ruined face toward Evelyne. "You think being true makes you safe?" The altar beneath her cracked. Deep below the palace, something answered her false mark. A second bell rang. Not silver. Black. Seraphira smiled through tears. "The moon has a shadow too." The black bell rang once beneath the palace. The sound did not echo. It swallowed. Every candle in the moon hall went out at the same time. The silver glow of the true Luna altar dimmed. The moon crown mark across Evelyne's scarred skin flickered, as if a cold hand had closed around it. The wolves began to whine. Not kneel. Not bow. Whine. Even Lucien's silver-black wolf shadow lifted its head from Evelyne's hand and bared its teeth toward the cracked floor. Seraphira Morn knelt beside the altar. Ruined wedding silk pooled around her. False mark split open in bleeding black light. Her face was wet with tears, but her smile held no grief. "The moon has a shadow too," she whispered. The marble beneath her split wider. From below rose a second altar. Not white stone. Black glass. It pushed through the broken floor like something grown in darkness. Smooth and reflective. Carved with the shape of a crescent turned upside down. Around its base, black chains dragged across the marble though no hand pulled them. The old priest saw it and crawled backward. "No," he breathed. That altar was sealed. Lord Mavrin Morn, still held by Lucien, began to laugh. Not loudly. Relieved. "Sealed," he said. "Not destroyed." Lucien tightened his grip around Mavrin's throat. What is it? Mavrin's eyes glittered. The shadow moon. The name moved through the hall like winter entering a room. Evelyne felt the moon crown mark burn colder. The black altar reflected her face, but not as she was. In its surface, her scar spread over her whole body. Her eyes were hollow. A silver crown burned on her skin like a wound rather than a mark. Seraphira slowly stood. Black moonfire curled from her chest to the altar, feeding it. The old rites knew the truth, she said. A luna mark can choose, but a shadow mark can challenge. If the moon makes a mistake, the shadow corrects it. Evelyne looked at the old priest. His face had collapsed into terror. She is lying, he said, though his voice shook. Seraphira laughed softly. Emmy? The shadow moon altar answered. Black light burst from its surface and struck the broken sacred cup. The cup lifted into the air, spinning between Evelyne and Seraphira. Its silver cracks filled with darkness. A voice rose from the altar. Not human, not alive. Let the two marks stand trial. The court recoiled. Seraphira lifted her chin. There, the old law speaks. Lucien threw Mavrin aside and stepped toward her. No trial. The black altar flashed. Lucien staggered. Black chains lashed from the floor and wrapped around his wrist before he could reach Seraphira. His wolf roared, but the chains tightened around the shadow beast's throat too. Evelyne moved toward him. The chains snapped toward her scar. She stopped. Seraphira smiled. You cannot protect him from this. Not yet. Not yet? Evelyne said. The true Luna must survive the shadow before she can claim the king's wolf fully. The court stirred again. They wanted law. They wanted ritual. They wanted something old enough to excuse their fear. Mavrin climbed to his feet, rubbing his bruised throat. The shadow moon trial is legal, he said. Rare, yes. Sealed, yes. But never abolished. Lucien's voice was lethal. It was sealed because it killed Luna candidates. Mavrin looked at Evelyne. Only the false ones. Evelyne understood the trap. If she refused, House Morn would claim her mark-feared judgment. If she entered, the shadow moon might destroy her. And if Lucien broke the altar by force, the court would say his dying wolf had been bewitched by the scarred maid. Again, men had built a cage and named it choice. Evelyne looked at Seraphira. The noblewoman's beauty was gone now. What remained was desperation sharpened into cruelty. The false mark was eating her from within, but she still stood as if pride could hold her together. You knew this would happen, Evelyne said. Seraphira's smile trembled. I knew you would not stay buried. Then why not leave me alone? Because you were born with everything I was trained to deserve. The answer was almost honest. Almost human. That made it uglier. Evelyne looked at Lucien. Black chains held him in place, but his eyes were fixed on her. No, he said. One word. Not command. Fear. Evelyne stepped closer until the chains hissed between them. What happens if I do not enter? Lucien's jaw tightened. Then I break the altar, and the court calls me witch. I do not care what the court calls you. I do. The words surprised him. Evelyne touched the moon crown mark across her scar. For 6 years, they named me burned thing, liar, scarred maid. Tonight, the truth finally has witnesses. I will not let House Morn turn it into another secret. Lucien's face changed. Fine. Respect. Helpless rage. You should not have to prove what the moon already chose. No, Evelyne said. But I have spent my life paying for what others stole. Let this be the last price. The silver-black wolf shadow lowered its head, still chained. Evelyne looked at it. Wait for me. The wolf whined. Lucien closed his eyes. Only for a breath. When he opened them, he did not tell her no again. Seraphira stepped toward the black altar. Blood from both claimants. The sacred cup drifted between them. Evelyne picked up a shard of the broken silver rim. Seraphira pulled the dagger from her ruined mark. They cut their palms at the same time. Seraphira's blood fell black. Evelyne's fell silver. The shadow moon altar drank both. The hall vanished. Evelyne fell into darkness. Not the darkness of sleep. The darkness of memory sharpened into a blade. She landed barefoot on a floor of black glass beneath a moonless sky. Around her stood mirrors. Hundreds of them. Each reflected a different version of her. A child with soot on her cheeks, A servant carrying laundry through noble corridors. A burned girl wrapped in bandages. A maid lowering her head while Seraphira laughed. A woman kneeling beside the sacred cup as silver fire crowned her scars. Then the mirrors began to speak. Liar, thief, ruin, mistake. Evelyne pressed her hands over her ears, but the voices were inside her. The shadow moon did not attack with teeth. It attacked with every name she had survived. Across the glass floor, Seraphira appeared in white, untouched, unscarred, shining with stolen moonlight. This is where truth becomes useless, Seraphira said. The shadow does not ask what happened. It asks what you believe you are. The mirrors darkened. Evelyne's scar burned. Then the west tower appeared around her. Smoke, fire, the locked door. Seraphira standing outside with the silver key. Only this time the door opened. A younger Evelyne stumbled out. Unburned, unscarred, beautiful. The vision looked at Evelyne with pity. This is who you should have been, Seraphira whispered. This is what I took. The unscarred Evelyne held out a hand. Choose me, the vision said. Choose the life before the fire. Evelyne stared at the face she had lost. For one aching moment, she wanted it. She wanted the smooth skin, the easy glances, the years not spent hiding from polished mirrors. She wanted a life where Lucien looked at her before the world forced him to. Then she lowered her hand. No. The vision flickered. Seraphira's smile faltered. Evelyne touched the scar on her cheek. You took my face. You did not take me. The mirrors cracked. Silver light broke through the darkness. Back in the moon hall, the black altar trembled. Lucien lifted his head. Evelyne's voice rose from inside the shadow moon. I am not the woman before the fire. The chains around Lucien's wolf loosened. Inside the trial, Evelyne stepped forward as the mirrors shattered one by one. I am the woman who walked out of it. The shadow moon screamed. And across Evelyne's scarred skin, the moon crown burned brighter than the dark. Inside the shadow moon, Evelyne Ashor walked through the fire that had once destroyed her. The black glass world cracked beneath her bare feet. Around her, mirrors shattered one after another, each one breaking the name the court had forced onto her. Burned thing. Liar. Ruin. Mistake. The words fell away like ash. Seraphira stood across from her in the illusion of a perfect bridal gown, untouched by smoke, untouched by guilt. Her stolen beauty glowing beneath a moonless sky. But now the light around her flickered. The shadow moon had shown Evelyne the face she lost, the life she might have had. The smooth skin and easy future stolen behind a locked tower door. Evelyne had refused it. That refusal had wounded the trial more deeply than rage could have. Seraphira's eyes hardened. You think accepting ugliness makes you noble? Evelyne touched the scar along her cheek. No, I think surviving you made me mine. The black glass floor trembled. Far above, through the dark, Evelyne heard the true Luna bell ring once. The sound reached her like a hand through water. Seraphira glanced upward. Fear crossed her face. Only for a breath. Then she smiled. The shadow moon does not end with memory. It ends with desire. The darkness shifted. The moon hall appeared around them again, but changed. The court stood on either side in perfect silence. Lucien waited at the dais, whole and unchained, his silver-black wolf strong behind him. He looked at Evelyne without guilt, without hesitation, without the years between them. No scars marked her skin. No servant gown hung from her shoulders. She wore a Luna dress of silver silk. Her hands were clean. Her face was untouched. The moon crown rested above her brow, as if it had never burned through pain to find her. Lucien held out his hand. Come to me, he said. Evelyne's heart twisted. She knew it was not real. Still, the wanting hurt. Not for the gown. Not even for the unscarred face. For the simplicity. A life where she did not have to stand before an entire kingdom and explain why she deserved to be believed. A life where the king saw her before pain made her impossible to ignore. A love that did not begin with betrayal, stolen marks, and a burning tower. Seraphira's voice slid beside her. This is what the moon could give you if you let the scar die. A clean beginning. A king who never failed you. A court that never looked away. Evelyne stared at Lucien's offered hand. Then at her own perfect fingers. No burns. No twisted skin. No history. She closed them into a fist. No. The false moon hall flickered. Seraphira's smile vanished. Evelyne looked at the illusion of Lucien. I do not want a king who never failed me. I want the truth of the one who did. The vision cracked. The perfect Lucien shattered into silver dust. Evelyne's scar returned across her cheek, her shoulder, her chest. The pain returned too. But with it came weight, memory, and breath. She was not clean. She was not untouched. She was alive. The shadow moon screamed. Back in the real moon hall, the black altar split down the center. Lucien strained against the chains holding his wrists and wolf. The court watched in terror as silver light began to leak from the cracks in the dark altar. The old priest lifted his head. She is rejecting the shadow's gifts. Lord Mavrin's face hardened. That is impossible. Lucien's eyes never left the altar. No, he said. That is Evelyne. Inside the trial, Seraphira staggered as the darkness around her began to peel away. Her white gown blackened at the hem. The stolen moonlight on her skin dimmed. Evelyne stepped toward her. The shadow moon placed one final mirror between them. This reflection did not show Evelyne. It showed Seraphira, a young noble girl standing before her father, weeping as Lord Mavrin told her House Morn would lose everything if she did not become Luna. A girl taught that beauty was not enough unless it ruled. A daughter told love was weakness, pity was poison, and a servant's life weighed less than a noble house's survival. For the first time, Evelyne saw not innocence, but origin. Seraphira's cruelty had been trained. That did not absolve it, but it explained the shape of the knife. Seraphira stared at the mirror, trembling. Do not look at that. Evelyne's voice softened. You could have chosen differently. Seraphira's face twisted. So could you. You could have stayed dead. Then she drove her black-stained hand into the mirror. It shattered inward. The shadow moon collapsed. Evelyne fell back into the moon hall. She landed on her knees before the black altar, gasping, silver fire spilling from the moon crown mark across her scarred skin. The chains around Lucien snapped at once. His silver-black wolf surged free behind him, enormous and furious. The black altar cracked, but it did not die. Seraphira appeared on the other side, blood running from her palm, her false mark gone completely. In its place was a hollow black crescent, carved into her chest by shadow. The court recoiled. The old priest whispered, Shadow claimant. Mavrin stepped forward. Desperate now. The trial is not over. The shadow moon has given my daughter standing. Lucien's voice was ice. She tried to murder Evelyne. She challenged a mark, Mavrin snapped. By old law, the Alpha King must choose which claimant receives royal protection until final judgment. The hall erupted. Evelyne slowly stood. There it was. The final trap. If Lucien protected Evelyne, House Morn would call him bewitched by the true mark. If he protected Seraphira, the court would bury the truth again. If he refused to choose, both women would be surrendered to the priests. Lucien turned toward Evelyne. For one breath, the entire kingdom waited. Evelyne did not beg. She had begged a locked door once. Never again. Lucien stepped down from the dais. He walked past Seraphira, past Lord Mavrin, past the shattered cup, the broken altar, and every noble house that had helped make this lie possible. He stopped before Evelyne. Then Alpha King Lucien Vael went down on one knee. The moon hall went silent. He bowed his head before the scarred maid whose mark had called his wolf home. I choose the woman the moon chose before my court taught me blindness, he said. Mavrin shouted, You condemn your throne. Lucien did not look at him. No, he said. I condemn the lie that sat beside it. His wolf lowered its head beside Evelyne's hand. The true Luna bell rang again. This time, every silver banner in the hall unfurled by itself. Evelyne looked down at Lucien. She did not forgive him. Not yet. But when he lifted his eyes to hers, she saw no command there. Only remorse. Only recognition. Only a king finally kneeling low enough to see what his court had stepped on. Then Seraphira began to laugh. Black tears ran down her face. You chose her too late. The shadow moon altar opened beneath her feet. From the darkness rose a wolf made entirely of black moonfire, eyeless, crowned in thorns, its body chained to Seraphira's hollow mark. The court screamed. Lucien rose, sword drawn. Evelyne's moon crown burned cold. Seraphira smiled through the shadow, consuming her. "If I cannot be Luna," she whispered, "I will be the wolf that devours one." The black wolf lunged. The black wolf lunged. It moved faster than flesh. One moment it stood behind Seraphira, eyeless and crowned in thorns of black moonfire. The next, it crossed the moon hall in a blur of shadow and hunger, its jaws opening wide enough to swallow Evelyne's silver light whole. Lucien reached her first. His sword came up in a flash of moonstale. The black wolf struck the blade and drove him backward across the marble. Sparks exploded between silver and shadow. Lucien's boots carved deep lines into the floor before he caught himself, one arm thrown protectively in front of Evelyne. Behind him, his silver-black wolf roared. The sound shook the chandeliers. But the shadow wolf did not flinch. It had no eyes to fear with, no heart to threaten, only hunger. Seraphira stood behind the creature, one hand pressed to the hollow crescent carved into her chest. Black tears ran down her face, staining the remains of her bridal gown. "Do you see?" she cried. "The moon chose her, but the shadow chose me." Evelyne stared at the wolf. The moon crown mark across her scar burned cold, not in fear, recognition. There was something inside the shadow wolf, not Seraphira's soul, not fully, something older, layered, made from fragments that did not belong together. Lucien lifted his sword again. "Stay behind me." Evelyne looked at him. He heard himself too late. His jaw tightened. I know what you meant. That was the danger of old habits. Even protection could sound like a locked door." The black wolf circled them, smoke dripping from its ribs. Wherever its paws touched the marble, silver frost turned black. The wolves in the court whined and backed away. Several nobles stumbled toward the exits, but the moon hall doors slammed shut before they reached them. The shadow moon altar wanted witnesses. Lord House Morn stood near his daughter, face bright with desperate triumph. "Final judgment has begun," he shouted. "The true Luna must defeat the shadow claimant, or surrender the crown." The old priest shook his head. "This is not judgment. This is possession." Mavrin turned on him. "Then pray it possesses the correct woman." The shadow wolf lunged again. This time, it went for Evelyne. Lucien moved, but Evelyne moved too. She raised her scarred hand. The moon crown mark flared. Silver fire burst outward, forming a crescent shield between her and the beast. The shadow wolf struck it and screamed. Not in pain. In voices. Many voices. Women's voices. Evelyne Ashor. The scream entered her bones. "Help me." No, not one voice. Dozens. She saw flashes in the black fire. A kitchen girl with a crescent mark hidden beneath her collar. A laundress dragged beneath the palace. A stable maid crying as priests pressed her chest to cold stone. Low-born women whose Luna signs had been stolen, burned, transferred, buried. The shadow wolf was not only Seraphira's rage, it was made from every stolen mark House Morn had fed into the shadow moon. Evelyne lowered her hand, shaking. Lucien saw her face. "What is it?" "They are inside it." His eyes sharpened. "Who?" "The women they stole from." The shadow wolf paced before them, its thorn crown burning darker. For the first time, Evelyne noticed the chains wrapped around its ribs, not holding it back, holding it together. The stolen Luna marks had been twisted into a beast, a weapon built from women the court never named. Mavrin heard her and went pale, only for a breath. "Enough." Evelyne turned toward him. "How many?" Mavrin's mouth tightened. "I did what House Morn had to do." "How many?" He looked toward the nobles, then toward Lucien, measuring which lie might still live. Lucien's voice dropped. "Answer her." Mavrin's mask cracked. "For 3 generations, House Morn preserved the throne when the moon chose poorly." The moon hall erupted. 3 generations. Evelyne felt the stolen voices press against her skin. The shadow wolf snarled as if ashamed to be seen. Seraphira looked at the beast, then at her father. "You said it was only her." Mavrin did not look at his daughter. "You were never strong enough to carry a mark alone." The words struck Seraphira harder than any blade. For a moment, the shadow around her flickered. Not cruelty now. A child's wound beneath a noblewoman's ruin. Evelyne saw it. She hated that she saw it. Seraphira had destroyed her life, but Mavrin had made his daughter into a vessel for stolen power, and called it legacy. Lucien stepped toward the shadow moon altar. Then we break it. The altar answered with black fire, lashing toward him. His silver-black wolf intercepted the strike. The beast snarled as shadow chains wrapped around its muzzle and neck. Lucien staggered, pain flashing across his face. Evelyne Ashor. The shadow wolf lunged. This time, Seraphira shouted, "Stop!" The beast froze mid-strike. Barely. Its head twisted toward her, eyeless face full of hunger. Seraphira tremble. I said, "Stop." The wolf obeyed, but the hollow mark in her chest widened. Black fire crawled up her throat. Evelyne understood. Seraphira was not controlling it. It was feeding from her. The more she commanded it, the faster it would consume her. Lucien saw it too. His voice hardened. "Seraphira, step away from the altar." She laughed weakly. "And go where? Back to being no one? Back to being the girl my father measured against a servant and found lacking?" Evelyne's expression tightened. "You were never no one." Seraphira's eyes flashed. "Easy for you to say. The moon burned truth into your skin. It burned through a scar you gave me." The words silenced them both. The shadow wolf shook free of Seraphira's hesitation and charged again, snapping at the silver-black wolf. The two beasts collided, moonlight and shadow tearing through the hall. Columns cracked. Chandeliers fell. Nobles screamed beneath showers of glass. Evelyne looked at the altar. The black glass surface pulsed with stolen names. Not written. Trapped. She could feel them now, each one like a heartbeat under ice. "We cannot kill the wolf," she said. Lucien blocked another strike and glanced back. "What? If we kill it, we kill what remains of them." The silver-black wolf growled as if it understood. Lucien's face went grim. "Then how do we free them?" Evelyne looked at the broken moon cup, then at the true Luna altar, then at the shadow moon altar. Tvo altars. Two halves of the same buried law. "The moon witness showed memory," she said. "The shadow moon tests belief." Lucien's eyes met hers. And House Morn survived by making stolen women believe they were nothing." She stepped toward the black altar. The shadow wolf turned instantly. Lucien moved with her, not in front of her, but beside her. This time he learned. Evelyne noticed. So did his wolf. The true Luna bell rang once. The black bell answered. Silver and shadow trembled through the hall. Evelyne placed one scarred hand on the white Luna altar. Lucien placed his hand beside hers. "Not over it." "What do you need?" he asked. The question steadied her. "Your wolf must call them." Lucien looked at the shadow beast. "The stolen marks? The women." He understood. His silver-black wolf lifted its head. This time it did not roar. It howled. Not with command. With grief. The sound moved through the shadow moon altar and into the black wolf's body. The beast staggered. Its thorn crown flickered. From inside its ribs, pale lights began to appear. One, then another, then dozens. Women's faces formed in the shadow. Afraid, angry, unbelieving. Evelyne pressed her palm harder to the altar. "You are not the shadow," she whispered. The black wolf screamed. Mavrin shouted, "Do not listen to her." Lucien's sword flashed. He drove it into the marble before Mavrin, stopping him without touching him. "Silence." Evelyne kept her eyes on the trapped lights. "You are not the lie they built from you." The moon crown mark flared across her scars. "You are the women they failed to erase." The shadow wolf split open. Silver light burst from within. Seraphira screamed as the hollow mark in her chest cracked. She fell to her knees, clutching herself as the stolen power tore free. Evelyne reached toward her. Seraphira stared at the offered hand in disbelief. "I would have let you burn," she whispered. "I know. Why?" Evelyne's voice was quiet. "Because I am not you." Seraphira took her hand. The moment their fingers touched, the shadow moon altar shattered. Black glass exploded into silver dust. The shadow wolf collapsed, not dying, but opening. Dozens of pale Luna marks rose from its body and drifted upward like freed stars. The trapped women's faces vanished into the moon banners. Finally seen, finally named by light, Seraphira collapsed. Lucien caught Evelyne before the blast threw her back, but he did not hold her tightly. He waited until she chose to lean against him. The moon hall stood in ruins. The shadow moon altar was gone. The true Luna altar remained. Lord Mavrin stared at the empty place where his family's power had been. For the first time, he looked old. Then the palace doors opened by themselves. Outside, every bell in Valoria began to ring. Silver, not black. The old priest looked toward the dawn and wept. "The kingdom knows," he whispered. Evelyne looked down at her scarred skin, the moon crown shining brighter than ever. But victory did not feel clean. It never did when built over graves. Lucien stood beside her, breathing hard, his wolf free at last. Mavrin sank to his knees. And from the ruined altar, one final stolen name burned into the marble. Evelyne Ashor, not as victim, not as maid, as Luna. The kingdom knew. Every silver bell in Valoria rang at once. The sound rolled beyond the moon hall, through the palace corridors, over the frozen gardens, across the lower city where servants, soldiers, merchants, and sleeping children woke beneath the same impossible note. Not wedding bells, not mourning bells, recognition. In the ruined moon hall, no one moved. The shadow moon altar was gone. Its black glass lay scattered across the marble in silver dust. The true Luna altar remained standing, pale and unbroken, its surface glowing faintly beneath Evelyne Ashor's name. Not as servante, not as scarred maid. Luna. The word burned into the stone where every noble could see it. Lord Mavrin Morn stared at the name as if it had cut his throat. His daughter lay collapsed beside the shattered altar, the hollow black crescent fading from her chest. Seraphira's white wedding gown was ruined, her perfect hair fallen loose, her stolen mark gone. Without borrowed moonlight, she looked smaller. Not innocent, never that, but human enough to bleed. Evelyne stood a few steps away, trembling from exhaustion. The moon crown mark still blazed across her scarred skin, no longer trying to hide beneath the old burns. Lucien stood beside her, his sword lowered but not sheathed. Behind him, his silver-black wolf shadow breathed freely for the first time in 6 years. The old priest crawled toward Evelyne and pressed his forehead to the floor. "My Luna," he whispered again. Then the servants followed. One by one they knelt, the kitchen girls first, then the laundresses, then the stable boys and candle-bearers, and old women who had carried chamber water past noble doors for longer than most lords had held titles. They knelt not because law ordered them, because for once, someone marked like them had not vanished. The guards bent next. Their wolves had already chosen. The nobles resisted longest. They looked to one another, searching for permission to deny what every bell in the kingdom had announced. Lord Mavrin gave it to them. "She cannot be crowned." His voice cracked through the hall. Several nobles lifted their heads. Lucien turned slowly. Mavrin rose from his knees with difficulty, but pride held him straighter than strength. The moon crown mark may have chosen her, but crown law remains crown law. A Luna of Valoria must be presented by noble blood, witnessed by 3 houses, and approved by the ruling council. Evelyne almost laughed. There it was. When theft failed, they returned to paperwork. Lucien's voice was cold. "You lost the right to speak of law when your house burned women for their marks." Mavrin's eyes flashed. "My house preserved order. You preserved power. And you, my king, are alive because we did." Lucien's jaw tightened. Mavrin saw the wound and pressed it. "For 6 years our rights kept your wolf from tearing itself apart. Imperfectly. Yes. Cruelly, perhaps. But alive. Without House Morn, you would have been a beast before your 25th winter." The court murmured. Evelyne felt the old pattern returning. A crime confessed, then softened, then renamed necessity. She stepped forward. Lucien looked at her. She did not ask permission. Good. He did not try to give it. Better. "Mavrin," Evelyne said, "how many women did your house burn to keep him alive?" Silence. Mavrin's mouth tightened. "That is not the question before the court. It is the only question before the court." The Luna altar flared. From the silver dust where the shadow moon had shattered, pale lights rose again. Not full visions this time. Names: Alice Thorne, Mireille Fen, Jessa of the lower kitchens. Varya Snowhand, Nerys Vael. Dozens more. Each name hovered in the air, and beneath each name appeared a faint mark. Crescent, crown, wolf eye, moonflame, stolen signs, stolen women, stolen lives. The servants began to weep. One elderly laundress covered her mouth. "My sister," she whispered. "Jessa was my sister." The hall turned toward her. The woman trembled, then stood. "They told us she ran with a border guard. I knew she would not. She had a mark on her shoulder she made me swear never to mention." Mavrin's face hardened. Grief invents many things. Evelyne's eyes went cold. "No. Men like you depend on grief being too tired to speak." The old laundress straightened. "She did not run," she said. "Your men took her." Another servant stood. "My aunt vanished after the moon trials." Then another. "My mother served House Morn. She carried a silver scar over her heart." One voice became many. The moon hall filled with names the court had buried under wages, rumors, and silence. Mavrin looked around, and for the first time, he seemed afraid of people he had never thought worth seeing. Seraphira stirred on the floor. "Father," she whispered. Mavrin did not look at her. That hurt her. Evelyne saw it. So did Lucien. Seraphira pushed herself upright. One hand pressed against her chest where the false mark had been. "You told me there was only one before me," she said. Mavrin's expression turned sharp. "Be silent." Her face crumpled, then hardened. "No." The word was weak, but it was real. Mavrin's eyes widened. Seraphira looked at Evelyne, and there was no apology in her face. Not yet. Perhaps not ever. But there was truth. Raw and ugly. He said if I did not carry the mark, House Morn would fall. He said the maid would die anyway. He said the fire would be quick. The hall went silent. Evelyne felt the words enter the scar on her cheek like a blade reopening old skin. Lucien's wolf snarled. Seraphira looked away. It was not quick. Evelyne's voice was almost soundless. "No." Seraphira closed her eyes. For the first time, her beauty did not protect her from what she had done. Mavrin moved toward her. "You foolish girl." Lucien's sword rose. Mavrin stopped. Evelyne lifted a hand. "Let her speak." Seraphira looked at her in disbelief. Evelyne did not soften. "This is not mercy, it is witness." Seraphira swallowed. "The West Tower fire was meant to erase the mark. When you survived, Father ordered the healers to call you delirious. I repeated it. I laughed at you because if I stopped laughing, I would have had to remember you were alive." Tears slid down her face. Evelyne did not forgive them. But the truth stood in the hall now. And truth, once standing, changed the shape of every room. Mavrin lunged. Not at Seraphira. At the Luna altar. He drew a black moonblade from his sleeve and drove it toward Evelyne's name. Lucien moved, but Evelyne was closer. She placed her scarred hand over the burning name. The blade struck her palm. Silver fire erupted. Mavrin screamed as the moon crown mark answered through Evelyne's blood. The altar did not wound him. It revealed him. Black smoke poured from his mouth. Not plague. Not magic. Oaths. Every false vow House Morn had sworn into moon law spilled out in dark ribbons, twisting above the hall. Contracts signed in servant blood. Priest orders sealed with stolen marks. Marriage alliances bought with burned girls. The council benches erupted. 3 noble houses stood at once, shouting denial. 2 others tried to flee. The palace doors slammed shut with silver light. Lucien's voice thundered through the hall. No one leaves. His wolf stood behind him, fully awake now. Not dying. Not bound. King and beast. Together at last. Mavrin collapsed before the altar, gasping. The black moonblade melted into ash. Evelyne withdrew her bleeding hand. Lucien reached for her, then stopped. Waiting, she chose to give him her hand. Only then did he take it. The gesture was small. The court saw everything. Lucien turned to the council. House Morn is stripped of Luna claim. Every noble house named in these oaths will stand trial under moon witness. Every servant family wronged by stolen mark law will be heard before the throne. A lord shouted, "You would let servants judge nobles?" Lucien looked at Evelyne, then back at the lord. "No," he said. "I would let the truth judge all of us." The Luna altar brightened. The silver bells outside rang one final time. Evelyne looked over the ruined hall, the kneeling servants, the terrified nobles, the broken bride, and the king who had finally stopped looking away. Power had shifted, but the wound remained. Lucien seemed to know it. He lowered himself before her again, not as performance this time, but as penance. I cannot undo the tower, he said. No, I cannot return the face they took from you. No, I cannot ask forgiveness tonight. No, Evelyne said. You cannot. His eyes lifted to hers. What can I ask? Evelyne looked at the altar where her name still burned, then at the servants who had never expected to see one of their own named sacred. Ask how to make a kingdom where locked doors do not get called law. Lucien bowed his head, and for the first time in 6 years the moon hall had no answer ready for a scarred maid. By dawn, the moon hall no longer looked like a wedding chamber. It looked like a battlefield after truth had passed through it. The silver banners hung torn from the rafters. The sacred moon cup lay cracked but glowing on the altar. Black ash marked the place where the shadow moon had shattered. The white Luna altar still stood in the center of the hall, and upon its surface Evelyne Ashor's name burned in living silver. Nut servant, not scarred maid. Luna. The word did not feel like triumph. It felt like weight. Around the hall, servants remained on their knees, not because anyone commanded them, but because they had seen one of their own survive what the noble houses had hidden for generations. Guards stood with lowered swords. Priests trembled beside broken staffs. Nobles whispered into silence every time Lucien's wolf lifted its head. Lord House Morn knelt before the altar in chains of moonlight. Not iron. Iron would have been too kind. The moon witness had bound him in every false oath his house had sworn. Dark ribbons circled his wrists, his throat, his chest, each one carrying the name of a woman stolen, burned, silenced, or buried beneath noble law. Seraphira sat a few steps away, pale and hollow in her ruined bridal gown. No mark remained on her chest. No silver, no shadow, only skin. For the first time in her life, she looked unchosen. Evelyne should have felt satisfaction. She did not. She felt tired. That was the cruelest thing about justice. Sometimes it arrived so late that joy had already died waiting for it. Alpha King Lucien Vael stood before the council benches with his silver-black wolf behind him. Fully awake, no longer chained by stolen moonfire, the beast's eyes were fixed on Evelyne, not with hunger, not with command, but with a devotion so quiet it almost hurt to look at. Lucien turned to the hall. House Morn is stripped of Luna claim, he said. Its lands will be held under crown rev. The private priests will stand trial. Every record tied to stolen mark law will be opened before Moon Witness. A noble lord rose, shaking with outrage. You would tear apart half the court because of servant testimony? Lucien looked at Evelyne, then back at the lord. No, he said. Because of truth. The lord's mouth tightened. Truth does not rule kingdoms, law does. Evelyne stepped forward. Every eye turned to her. She hated that. Then she remembered every year she had spent wishing one person would look at her and truly see. So she let them look. Then let the law answer, she said. The Luna altar brightened. The Lord went silent. Evelyne's voice did not rise. For generations, noble houses used moon law to steal marks from low-born women. You called them unstable, cursed, delirious, dead. You made their families bury questions because grief was cheaper than justice. She looked toward the servants. From this day, no Luna mark belongs to a house. No priest may examine a marked woman without witness of her choosing. No noble family may claim sacred blood by rank alone. Every woman named by the altar will be given back her name, her history, and her place in the record. A murmur moved through the hall. Fear, anger, hope. Lucien watched her, and this time he did not speak over her. Good. A king learning silence could be more useful than command. Seraphira laughed softly. Everyone turned. The sound was broken, almost empty. You think names restore anything? She whispered. Evelyne looked at her. No. That answer seemed to surprise her. Evelyne walked closer, stopping far enough away that memory did not mistake the distance for safety. Names do not restore skin. They do not undo fire. They do not give back years. But they stop the next girl from vanishing as easily as I did. Seraphira lowered her eyes. For once she had no beautiful answer. Lucien's voice hardened. Lady Seraphira Morn, you will stand trial for the West Tower fire, the false Luna rite, and attempted murder under Shadow Moon law. Seraphira looked up at him. There was grief in her face now. Not pure, not innocent, but real enough to wound. I loved you, she said. Lucien's expression did not change. No, he said. You loved the place beside me. Seraphira flinched. Evelyne saw it. 6 years ago, that would have pleased her. Now she only felt the shape of the ruined girl beneath the monster. You will live, Evelyne said. Seraphira's eyes moved to her. What? You will live long enough to speak the names of every woman House Morn erased. You will write what you saw, what you did, what you knew. You will not be allowed to turn guilt into death and call it escape. Seraphira's lips trembled. You hate me? Yes, Evelyne said. The honesty stunned the hall. Evelyne did not soften it. But I will not become you. Seraphira broke then. Not beautifully, not dramatically. She simply folded forward and covered her face with her hands. Lord Mavrin snarled from his chains. You would let a servant sentence my daughter? Lucien moved first, but Evelyne lifted her hand. The king stopped. She faced Mavrin herself. No. The servant you failed to burn is sentencing the house that mistook cruelty for bloodline. The Luna altar flared. Mavrin screamed as another oath burned black around his throat. No one moved to help him. Outside, dawn reached the palace windows. Silver light spilled across the ruined hall and touched Evelyne's scar. For years, she had believed dawn was cruel because it revealed what night softened. The twisted skin, the pale burn over her shoulder, the face people tried not to pity too openly. But under the morning light, the scar did not look like ruin. It looked like a road, a place where fire had passed and failed to keep her. Lucien approached slowly. He stopped a respectful distance away. Not close enough to claim. Not far enough to hide. Evelyne, he said. Her name in his mouth sounded different now. Not Maid. Not Witness. Not Luna. Evelyne. She looked at him. The hall listened too closely, but neither of them could escape being watched now. Their wounds had become kingdom matters. I owe you more than apology, Lucien said. Yes, I owe you law changed, houses judged, priests unmasked, and every locked door in this palace opened. Yes, his jaw tightened. And I owe you the truth that I failed to see you when my wolf was dying for you. Evelyne's chest hoort. Not with romance. Not yet. With the danger of wanting to believe a man who had learned too late. You did fail, she said. I know. You let them put me in the corner of your palace and call me Ash. I know. You protected me after the truth became impossible to deny. The words cut him. Good. They had to. Yes, he said. Evelyne studied him. The Alpha King of Vaeloria, feared by every northern pack, stood before her without defense. That mattered. It did not erase, but it mattered. What do you want from me? She asked. His eyes lowered briefly to the moon crown mark burning over her scar, then returned to her face. Nothing you do not choose. The answer moved through her like a quiet blade, because choice had been the one thing no one gave her until tonight. Lucien lowered himself to one knee. This time, the hall did not gasp. It remembered. His silver-black wolf lowered its head beside him. I will not ask you to be my Luna because the mark says you are, he said. I will not ask you to forgive me because my wolf needs you. I ask only for the chance to build a kingdom where you never have to lower your eyes again. Evelyne looked at the man kneeling before her, then at the servants behind her, the girls with burned hands from kitchens, the boys who carried wood, the women who had scrubbed noble blood from marble floors and learned never to ask whose it was. If she refused the crown, noble houses would fight to bury the altar again. If she accepted it, they would call her ambitious. Either way, they would speak. Let them. Evelyne extended her scarred hand. Lucien did not take it until she offered. When his fingers closed around hers, his wolf exhaled. The moon hall filled with silver light. Not a wedding rite. Not yet. Something older. Recognition without ownership. Evelyne lifted her chin. I will stand beside you, she said. Not behind you. Not beneath you. And never as proof that the court has been forgiven. Lucien's eyes burned silver. Beside me, he said. Or I do not stand at all. The true Luna bell rang once more. This time, it sounded less like warning, more like beginning. Weeks later, the West Tower was opened. The door had remained sealed since the fire, hidden beneath dust and excuses. Evelyne returned there at sunset with Lucien, the old priest, the servants who had testified, and the families of the women whose names the altar had returned. The room still smelled faintly of smoke. Or perhaps Evelyne only remembered it too well. She stood before the burned door. For 6 years she had dreamed of escaping it. Now she had come back to unlock it. Lucien held out the silver key recovered from Seraphira's chamber. He did not open the door. He placed the key in Evelyne's palm. Her fingers closed around it. The scar on her hand glowed softly. Then she opened the door herself. Inside, moonlight fell through broken windows onto blackened stone. No screams waited there now. No smoke. No trapped girl beating her fists against wood. Only silence. Evelyne stepped inside. She did not tremble. Behind her, Lucien waited at the threshold. "May I enter?" he asked. She turned back. The question undid her more than any apology had. After a moment, she nodded. He entered only then. Together, they stood in the room where her old life had ended, and where the lie that followed it finally died. That night, from the highest balcony of Vaeloria, Evelyne Ashor faced the kingdom wearing no veil. Her scar was visible. So was the moon crown mark blazing across it. Below, nobles, servants, guards, priests, and wolves filled the courtyard. Lucien stood beside her. Not in front. Beside. Evelyne looked out over the kingdom that had called her ruined. Then she spoke the first law of her reign. No woman will ever again be hidden because the moon chose her where power did not. The wolves howled. The silver banners lifted in the wind. And beneath the full moon, the scarred maid became Luna not because a king chose her, but because the truth did.